Okay. So, hello, Adib.
Hello, sir. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. Let's start. Today, I hope, Saraf, you will learn some basic things. Actually, these are most basic ideas. You cannot be wrong with them. If you are wrong with these ideas, then English will not make much sense to you. Okay. In India, it's very important to be grammatically correct when we speak or write in English. In India, English is not a foreign language. It is an official language. There are very few countries where they ask you questions in English to get a government job. If you are in China, they will not ask you questions about English to get a government job. It doesn't happen in Spain and many other countries because English is not an official language there. English is not a language to communicate between two government officers. Here, if the DM wants to communicate with the SP, then he will write an email or a letter either in English or in Hindi. So English is an option. And that's why in India, you are expected to get English right. In other countries, people learn English for practical purposes. For example, a businessman in Spain or let's say France will learn English in order to do business with England because it will help him if he speaks English. Some people learn English because they want to travel to other countries. Some people learn English for other reasons, not under pressure. There are some lawyers in Mexico, in Peru, and they don't speak any English. And they're very successful lawyers. Because in the courts of Peru, they don't have arguments in English. They have argument in their own language, Spanish. But in India, English is necessary to get a government job as well. It's an official language here. So correction is very important. Jishan Bazmi.
बोलिएगा ना कि पूरा लपेट के दे दे। अरे वही बात बाबू
Jishan Bazmi, hello.
Yes, sir.
Who is this Jishan?
Yeah, no, cutting कर रहे
Is it you, Zafri?
Yes, sir.
I see. You're at the shop, so much noise. Okay. Zafri is very busy these days. May Zafri, you should call me as well to help you. Maybe I will also learn some tailoring. You know that tailoring is one of my, I will say, you know, things that I want to learn. You know, it's something that I feel excited about. When I was young, I didn't know about it. Otherwise, I might have tried to do fashion designing or something, making designer clothes for people, making them look beautiful. It's an amazing job. So, Saurav, you're going to learn something really important. And Aditya Singh, come turn your camera on. Yes. Explain, you left the class in the middle one more time yesterday without any information. Why was that?
सर कॉल आता है तो कट जाते हैं
तो फिर वापस ज्वाइन करने के लिए वही लिंक है. You can join again after the call is over.
Yes.
The third, top switch. Top is third from the left, from the right. Third from the right. Third from the right. Yes. Third is that one. Yes. Yes, please come in. Aditya, please explain, beta, why? Last time you said you would not do it. Again, you left the class in the middle yesterday with no information. And I even messaged you on Telegram, but it was not delivered. I just see one tick there, not two ticks. Have you uninstalled your Telegram or something?
I'm not using Telegram more
Uh-huh.
time.
So I don't see the message being delivered. Yeah, let me see. Aditya, yes, the message was delivered. What time? Today at 3:36 p.m. Beta, please, Aditya, English is
Yes, sir.
a bit difficult. Consistency is necessary in order to be confident about it. Okay, so be regular, be consistent. And now we are going to check the homework that I shared yesterday with you all. Okay, let's see. Very interesting piece of homework. The story of the early cinema. We are going to learn how cinema began. Everybody, technology has played a huge role in changing our world in every way. Technology has given us this luxury of the fan. 200 years ago, even the kings didn't have a electric fan. Not common people, even the kings didn't have it because they didn't have electricity. They didn't have motor. So we are very lucky. We have so many different ways to relax ourselves, use the luxury of this kind, and entertainment sources, movie, TV, all this seems so normal today. But there was a time, there was no movies, there was no TV, there was no passive source of entertainment. People only had a few things to do. For example, they would do sports to entertain themselves, or they would dance, they would sing, music. Music was always a good source of entertainment. So today we are going to learn a history of the early cinema. A history of the early cinema from 1895 to 1940s. The first moving picture shows started in theaters. What started in theaters? The first moving picture shows. What started, everybody? The first moving picture shows. Moving picture shows. मूविंग पिक्चर मतलब हिलने वाली तस्वीरें. मूविंग पिक्चर्स. मूवीज क्या है? हिलने वाली तस्वीरें है ना. तस्वीरें हैं लेकिन वो हिलती हैं, राइट? So the first moving picture shows started in theaters in England, France, and the United States at the end of the 19th century. So before that, we didn't have moving pictures. We had still pictures. There are two types of pictures, still pictures and moving pictures. Moving, still photos मतलब still pictures मतलब normal photos. Okay. और जिसमें हम मूव कर रहे वीडियो बन जाए तो वो क्या हो गया? Moving pictures. So the first moving picture shows started. Started tells us that it is the past tense. शुरू हुआ, right? शुरू होता है नहीं, शुरू हुआ था, शुरू होता था, whatever Hindi suits our context, we will use that Hindi. Either शुरू हुआ or शुरू होता था or शुरू हुआ था, whatever. Okay. The first moving picture shows started in theaters in England, France, and the United States at the end of the 19th century. So before the end of the 19th century, there were no moving picture shows, right, guys? Before the end of the 19th century, right? जब मैं कहता हूं द एंड ऑफ द 19th सेंचुरी, तो कोई साल दिमाग में उभरता है तुम्हारे? कुछ कुछ ऐसे फ्रेजेस होते हैं जिसको टीचर्स बोलते हैं, स्टूडेंट सुनते हैं पैसिवली। पैसिव नहीं रहना तुम्हें, फिजिकली पैसिव हो सकते हो, मेंटली पैसिव ना होना। मेंटली पैसिव होना क्या होता है? आई एम टेलिंग यू समथिंग, यू आर लिसनिंग एंड दैट्स ऑल। अगर आप एक्टिव हो, तो मैं कह रहा हूं द एंड ऑफ द 19th सेंचुरी, तो आप अपने आप से पूछोगे ये क्या है? द एंड ऑफ द 19th सेंचुरी। अगर एक्टिव हो तो, एक्टिव नहीं हो तो हाँ, द एंड ऑफ द 19th सेंचुरी। बस कुछ चलेगा नहीं, तो चलता नहीं है तो पैसिव हो जाते हैं, और जब चलता है तो क्या होते हैं? एक्टिव। तो यू नीड टू बी मेंटली एक्टिव। जब मैं छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाता हूँ, स्मॉल किड्स, then I want them to be physically active too in the class, actually, because it helps them. But because you guys are grown up, so it's important that you are mentally active, not passive. So when I'm saying the end of the 19th century, what are you thinking? What do you hear? The end of the 19th century means 1895, 1896, 1897. This kind of year is called the end of the 19th century, dear student. Okay, means 1890s to 1900. These years will be called the end of the 19th century. Okay, at the end of the 19th century, the first moving picture shows were started, and started where? In England, France, and the United States. See, these countries have been very ahead in terms of technology in the last 200 years. In the last 200 years, they have been very much at the front of technological advancements. All the changes that you see in the world today, modern changes, okay? A lot of them happen there. You have a fan, you have a bulb, you have a TV, you have a computer, you have a ball pen, you know, you have printing press, you have clothes that you're wearing. All these things, you know, started in the West recently, in last 200 years. Things have changed a lot. Sometimes what happens, our pride, ego, our pride comes in our way and we say, no, we are superior. We don't acknowledge the good things about other people. But let's be honest, we did not make this computer initially, right? So we need to have a little bit of sense of gratitude for those great people who made these things possible. Individuals at least, if not the country. Those individuals means people, right? Those individuals who made these things, the person who made the bulb, the person who made the computer, we need to have a sense of gratitude. What is a sense of gratitude? हाँ, अच्छा किया, जिंदगी आसान हुई थोड़ी, हम लोग का भला हो गया. That is called a sense of gratitude towards them. It's necessary. Good people always have a sense of gratitude to those who have helped them in some ways. I'm not saying our culture is not great. Our culture has been great. But it is also true that we have not made much contribution in the modern lifestyle. The modern lifestyle that we have today, it is mainly because of the people from the West, England, America, France, Germany. Okay. The first moving picture shows started in theaters. बेटा हमारा ये सारा आइडिया जितना भी बात किया मैंने ना, ये एक्विजिशन के लिहाज से बहुत काम कर रही मैंने, आपको एहसास नहीं है. मैंने कल भी बोला था, एक्विजिशन में क्या होता है, आप मेरी बात सुनते हो, आपको पता नहीं चलता आप क्या सीख रहे हो, आप सीख जाते हो बहुत कुछ. नाउ आई विल टीच यू. एक्विजिशन की बात है ना, थोड़ी सी बात पर ध्यान दो. सब्जेक्ट वर्ब. Subject is the first moving picture shows, and the verb is started, and together they form the past simple tense, right? And the negative will be the first moving picture shows did not start. And the question will be, did the first moving picture shows start? We will remove ed and we will use did instead of that, okay, in place of that ed. तो मैं चाहता हूं कि मेरे ध्यान मैं सबसे ज्यादा फोकस चाहूंगा सौरभ से. सौरभ बेटा कैमरे पे आ जाओ. सौरभ, yes. Saurabh, take a look at this part. The first moving picture shows is our subject. In English, we always have a subject, and started is our verb. And because it is in V2, we know it is the past simple tense. And the negative will be didn't start. Didn't start. Question. If we want to make a question, then we will remove this ed, and in place of ed, we will use did before the subject here. Where? My question is, where did the first moving picture shows start? Answer. In theaters in England, France, and the United States. Okay. If I ask, when did the first, again, word will change because I want to ask a different question, but the rest of the words will remain the same. When did the first moving picture shows start? Right. Why did the first moving picture shows start? Because we had the technology to have video cameras, right? We could record moving picture shows. So we started moving pictures. Sorry, we could record moving pictures. So we started moving picture shows. Before that, we did not have the technology to record moving pictures, right? We did not have the technology to record moving pictures. So we did not have the shows. Okay. So the first shows started. What kind of shows? Moving picture shows. Okay. Picture shows. What kind of picture shows? Moving picture shows. एक word से समझते हैं. Shows started. What kind of shows? Picture shows. What kind of picture shows? Moving picture shows started. Next, 1895 to 1910, silent movies. 1895 is almost the end of the 19th century. 1895 means almost the end of the 19th century. Only 5 years are left. Once you reach 1900, it means 19th century is over. Okay. Silent movies. Today, movies have dialogues, right? But back then, movies didn't have dialogues. They were silent. In 1905, the first cinema or Nickelodeon opened in Pittsburgh. The first cinema or Nickelodeon between inverted commas. Why do we use these inverted commas? Why do we have the word Nickelodeon with a capital letter? And why do we have the inverted commas? You must have seen this a lot of times in your English textbooks at school, inverted commas. But you need to understand why we use them. So first of all, we have the capital N in Nickelodeon. That is because it is a name of a person or a place or a name of an individual thing. So it is a proper noun. It is a proper noun. Nickelodeon is a proper noun. Yes or no? Nickelodeon, capital N. Whenever you have a word with a capital letter in the middle of a sentence, it means it is a proper noun. So in 1905, the first cinema or Nickelodeon opened in Pittsburgh. So back then, in those days, cinema hall was called, oh, you're not getting it? In 1905, the first cinema or Nickelodeon opened in Pittsburgh. What opened in Pittsburgh? The first cinema opened. When did that happen? Okay. And what opened? First cinema. What was the first cinema called in those days? Because it is written with O-R-R. The first cinema or Nickelodeon. So Nickelodeon was the word used for cinema halls in those days. All right. When they opened the first cinema, they didn't call it a cinema hall. They did not call it a cinema hall. What did they call it? They called it Nickelodeon. Okay. They said, we have opened a Nickelodeon. All right. The first cinema or Nickelodeon opened in Pittsburgh. Guys, Saurabh, I want your response here. Could you tell me the subject in this sentence? एक्विजिशन हो रहा है सबका अपने अपने लेवल पे, उसके लिए कोई टेंशन नहीं होता, वो सबकॉन्शियस लर्निंग है, उसमें आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. जहां पर आप कुछ कर सकते हो वो है कॉन्शियस लर्निंग पे, वो होता है कॉन्सेप्ट. जैसे मैं बता रहा हूं, सब्जेक्ट एक होता है, एक वर्ब होता है, तो आपको दिमाग लगेगा कॉन्शियसली आप सोचोगे उसके बारे में और सीखोगे. तो could you please tell me, Saurabh, where is the subject in this sentence? Are you talking? Hello, guys. Say hello to me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes, yes,
Hello.
yes. Yes, my speaker is fine. Saurabh, tell me the subject and the verb.
The first cinema or Nickelodeon.
Very well done, Saurabh. Very well done. The subject here is the first cinema or Nickelodeon. Akansha, there is a little bit of noise, Akansha, from your side. Okay. Don't worry, I've muted you. Okay. So the first cinema or Nickelodeon is the subject and the verb is open. Now follow the same formula and tell me the negative.
Didn't.
The first cinema or Nickelodeon didn't open. We removed ed, okay? And we used didn't. And the question, did the first cinema or Nickelodeon open? If we want to ask place, then I will ask where. If I want to know the time, then I will say when. Make the question. Where did the first cinema open? Where did the first cinema open? The answer? Where? In Pittsburgh. Now, if I want to know the time, then I'll say, when did the first cinema or Nickelodeon open? In 1905. So you need to understand there is a clear-cut relation between an affirmative sentence and a question, an affirmative sentence and a negative. There is a relation. Once you understand that relation, how these things work, you will feel a lot more confident about you speaking your Hindi into English. At least you'll have the concept. Acquisition will continue. This is the best place as a class. This is the best class you can get for acquisition. Because like I said, I have a very clear understanding of what I will say to you just in order to help you learn those things without explaining the grammar part of it. I'm explaining the grammar part of this sentence, the subject, the verb, but I'm talking a lot. I'm making a lot of sentences in English, right? I'm talking to you in English. You are listening to hundreds of sentences from my mouth, and I'm not explaining the grammar of this because I know what I'm saying. And most importantly, what I'm saying is something you are expecting to hear from me. And that's why you don't need to understand the grammar of what I'm saying. You will learn automatically a lot of what I'm saying. Automatically, subconsciously, you will learn. The weakest of my students, like, Afreen and all, they have very little understanding of English. Even they benefit a lot from this listening. But there is only one condition, that these guys are not multitasking. Multitasking is a bad habit when you are in a language class. अच्छा सर का बात सुन रहे थे चावल चुन लेते हैं साथ में. Some girls think because they are at home, so they think कि सर की बात तो सुनी रहे कान में, ठीक है, तो थोड़ा चावल चुन लेते हैं साथ में. It will not work. Trust me, I'm an expert on this, and I'm saying this is not going to help you. You have to give your full attention, 100% attention. You need to acknowledge the words that come out of my mouth. Ah, sir said this word. Ah, sir said that word. You need to acknowledge. Once you start to acknowledge, you'll fall in love with this listening experience. Okay. I understood the importance of this, and that's why I took my own level of speaking English to this. Otherwise, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I spoke English and I could explain grammar the same way that I do now almost, okay? But I knew there was something that was going to help you guys better, and that was my fluent English speaking to you, my fluid English speaking, where I do not feel bothered about where I'm going with my sentences. When I am like effortless in my talking to you, when I keep going from one sentence to another, then you guys will benefit the most. This is what a native English speaker teacher brings to the class. Some people don't want to learn English with those who do not speak English as their first language. Do you know there are lots of people in this world who only want Americans as their teacher? They only want English people, British people, English people as their teachers, Australian as their teachers. Why? Because these people speak English as their first language. Okay, not any American, not any Australian. These guys have to go through a rigorous training. Not every American is a teacher of English. Not every British person, English person is a teacher of English. They have to, first of all, study English at university, one. Two, they have to do a special course for being a teacher. What you call B.Ed here, okay? Without doing B.Ed, one cannot be a teacher. Similarly, outside India, there is a course called TESOL. Without doing that course, TESOL, you cannot be a teacher of English. So the thing is, okay, these people speak English as their first language, and then they study English literature and English language at university, and then they do TESOL to become a professional teacher. And these teachers are very, very expensive. If you study with them, then you'll have to spend around $200 a month. And $200 is 20,000 rupees, nearly 16,000 rupees a month. In a group, if there are 10, 20 students, each person will pay $200, $250, sometimes $300 a month. But it is also seen that these teachers are more effective. They are more successful in making their students speak English confidently. They don't only learn English, grammar and stuff. They can actually use English as well. So I realized that that was one thing that I needed to bring to my class. Fluency, effortless talking to my students. This is what teachers from native speak, teachers from England and America do. They keep talking to you all the time. And because you're exposed to so much of English, you automatically learn. But for that, you have to be focused on what the teacher is saying. Whether it is me or an American or a British, if you are multitasking, you will not benefit from it. Okay, so the grammar point was the first cinema on Nickelodeon is the subject, opened is the verb, and we will follow the same formula. Didn't open, negative, and Afreen, Akansha, everybody, I want you to understand the grammar part of it. The first cinema on Nickelodeon didn't open in Mumbai. Yeah, the first cinema on Nickelodeon didn't open in Mumbai. Is that right? It didn't open in Mumbai. It opened in Pittsburgh. It didn't open in 1950. It opened in 1905. Okay. Two questions, where and when. And yes, no questions. We can make thousands of yes, no questions. Did the first cinema open in your village? No, the first cinema didn't open in your village. It opened in Pittsburgh. Okay. So interestingly, the first Nickelodeon opened in 1905, 119 years ago. 119 years ago, the first Nickelodeon. Okay. And by 1907, everybody, by 1907, within 2 years, okay, we are talking about 1905, the first Nickelodeon. But by 1907, there were about 4,000 Nickelodeons in the US. There were about 4,000 Nickelodeons. So Nickelodeons opened very quickly or slowly? Very quickly. First Nickelodeon opened in 1905, and within 2 years, within a period of 2 years, there were 4,000 Nickelodeons. So when did these 4,000 Nickelodeons open? In 1907 or in the period between 1905 and 1907?
In the period between
1905 and 1907. In this period, all these 4,000 Nickelodeons opened, right? So by 1907, there were about 4,000 Nickelodeons. Okay? If you remember the character you read about, that man who became a millionaire, lost his money and became a millionaire again, Benway, okay? Benway, he earned his first million when he was 17. And by the time he was 19, he had 17 million, right? More than 17 million. Within 2 years, his 1 million became 17 million. Okay. अब बताओ मेरा बच्चा लोग, बाई 1907 की हिंदी क्या कर दे ना, 1907 तक बोल दे कि 1907 आते आते क्या बोले, ज्यादा अच्छा लगेगा यहाँ पे? आते आते अच्छा लगा?
1907 आते आते।
मैं चाहता हूं कि आप ऐसी इंग्लिश हिंदी सीखे जो आपके कनेक्ट होती हो आपसे। ठीक है, रट्टा मारना अच्छा नहीं है, उसे बोलना नहीं हो पाएगा। तो बाय 1907 देयर वर अबाउट 4000 निक्लोडियंस। 1905 में पहला खुला और 1907 आते आते 4000 निक्लोडियंस हो गए थे। देयर वर अबाउट 4000 निक्लोडियंस इन द यूएस। मैंने अपना मैं थोड़ा फनी सेंटेंस देता हूँ, ठीक है। मेरी पहली गर्लफ्रेंड 17 साल में बनी और 19 साल के होते होते मेरी 20 गर्लफ्रेंड बन गई थी। ठीक है, तो अब बोला, बताओ कैसे बोलेंगे? माई फर्स्ट गर्लफ्रेंड वॉज व्हेन आई वाज 17 एंड बाय द टाइम आई वाज 19 आई हैड 20 गर्लफ्रेंड्स। हालांकि ये सिर्फ सेंटेंस है, सच नहीं है। ऑलराइट, एंड आई वाज अ शाई गाय लाइक यू गाइस। लेकिन मैं यहाँ सिर्फ एहसास कराना चाह रहा हूँ, बाय द टाइम आई वाज 19 मतलब मेरे 19 साल के होते होते, राइट। बाय 1907 देयर वर अबाउट 4000 निक्लोडियंस। मैं फिर से बताता हूँ बेटा, एक होता है कोई चीज मेरे को बोल दिया किसी ने, मैंने वो चीज आपको चेप दी, जो एकदम परफेक्ट वर्ड है बिहारी में। हाँ, आपको किसी ने कोई कहानी सुनाई, आपने वही कहानी दूसरे को चेप दी, मतलब आपको कुछ पता नहीं उस कहानी में क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ, बस आपने उसको जस का तस चिपका दिया। ये टीचिंग हमारे यहाँ काफी समय से चल रही है इंग्लिश के मामले, कि जो चीजें हमारे टीचर ने हमें बताई, मैंने वो आपको चिपका दी, उसके बीच में कोई ग्रोथ नहीं हुआ। तो उसका नतीजा क्या हुआ कि 30 साल पहले जो मुझे बताया जाता था इंग्लिश में गलत, वो आज भी बताया जा रहा है बच्चों को गलत। क्योंकि मेरे समय में जो टीचर्स थे, उन्होंने जो टीचर्स बनाए, वो टीचर्स आज वही चीज पढ़ा रहे। कुछ लोग उसमें से ग्रो कर गए, इवॉल्व कर गए। उन्होंने सोचा ये बाई, मुझे बाई मतलब पढ़ाया गया तब तक, आपको भी पढ़ाया गया होगा बाई मतलब तक, ठीक है। लेकिन आप सोचे तक बोलने से आपका कोई फायदा नहीं होता, क्योंकि अंटिल मतलब भी तक होता है। तो आप दोनों तक तक में कुछ काफी तक आ जाओगे, ठीक है, कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे। तो इट्स बेटर टू अंडरस्टैंड बाय 1907 का कॉन्सेप्ट यहां से बताओ, मुझे समझ में आ रहा है आपको? आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा? चलो देखो, एक और सेंटेंस बनाते हैं। फ्यूचर के लिए बोलता हूँ अपनी प्यारी आयशा के लिए, ठीक है। कैसे बताऊं, अच्छा फ्यूचर के लिए सेंटेंस बोलता हूँ, ठीक है। आयशा, मैं फ्यूचर प्रेडिक्टर, आई नो, फॉर्चून टेलर, यू नो, जो फ्यूचर देखता है। आयशा विल गेट मैरिड इन 2031। Aisha will get married in 2031, 7 years from now. Okay, she will get married in 2031. Remember, Aisha, this is my prediction. Okay, you will get married in 2031, and by 2034 you will have 3 children. Okay. When by 2034, okay, she will have 3 children. Okay. Okay, अभी देखते हैं प्रेडिक्शन सच होता है कि नहीं। She will tell me in 2034. She will call me. Hello, are you alive? Okay. In 1905, the first cinema on Nickelodeon opened in Pittsburgh, and by 1907, there were about 4000 Nickelodeons in the US. The films were short. The films were short, sometimes just 1 minute long. The films were short. In those days, the films were not like 2 hours, 30 minutes films today. Okay, the films were short. Okay, short एक height के बारे में बात करते हैं, right? Short people, and we also talk about कोई चीज जो कम देर चले, जैसे एक short movie, तो वो movie उतनी देर नहीं चलती जितनी देर बाकी movie चलती है। तो films were short, sometimes just 1 minute long. Unbelievable. Sometimes the films were only 1 minute long. So if a girl did a little longer makeup, then her movie was over. The husband said, let's go, 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes, the movie will be over. Okay. The films were short, sometimes just 1 minute long. Acha, gaur karo. I have a question. ये जानने के लिए कि आप खुद से क्या ऑब्जर्व करते हो चीजों के बारे में, ये जानने के लिए एक सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ. लेट्स सी. सो देयर इज अ चाइल्ड. ओके, उसकी हाइट नहीं, एक चाइल्ड है, वो 1 साल का है. तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा? ही इज 1 year old और 1 year young, क्या बोलूंगा? 1 year old या 1 year young? व्हाट विल आई से? आई वांट टू
1
टेल
year
यू द
old.
एज. हाँ, बच्चे की उम्र बतानी है कि वो 1 साल का है.
1 year old.
कैसे बोलूंगा? 1 year old, 1 year, 1 year old आपको लगता है? चलो ठीक है, चलो ठीक है, मैं एक्सेप्ट करता हूँ. लेट्स आस्क अनदर क्वेश्चन. There is a child, not a child, there is a man. Okay, he is 26 years of age, but his height is, let's say, 3 feet. His height is 3 feet. So what should I say? He's 3 feet tall or he's 3 feet short? Come on, everybody, answer.
3
He's 3
feet
feet
3 feet
tall.
tall.
3 feet short.
He's 3 feet tall.
3 feet tall.
Okay, we will use 3 feet tall, not short. The reason is, no, we will not use the word short. The reason is right here. The films were short, but just 1 minute short नहीं बोल रहा है. क्या बोल रहा है? 1 minute long. तुमने अभी कहा बच्चा 1 साल old, the child is 1 year old. young नहीं बोला आपने. यानी यहाँ पर जब मेजरमेंट की बात होती है तो जो एडजेक्टिव यूज करते हैं उसके मीनिंग के लिए नहीं यूज कर रहे हैं कि वो 1 साल का है तो 1 साल बूढ़ा है. नहीं, 1 साल का है, the child is 1 year old. So similarly, the person is 3 feet tall. वो उसकी हाइट है, हम ये नहीं बोल रहे he is tall. I'm just giving you the measurement of his height. He is 3 feet tall, no matter what. वो 1 foot भी है तो 1 foot tall ही बोलेंगे. Okay, so जब इस तरह से मेजरमेंट की बात आती है तो we do not care about the meaning of the adjective. Take a look here. The films were short, sometimes just 1 minute long. 1 minute long क्या long था? नहीं ना. It was a very short movie. But still, we are using the word long because we are talking about the length of the film. Today, films are 3 hours long. Hollywood films are 90 minutes long, 2 hours long, okay? And most Indian films are between 2 hours and 3 hours long. And some films are 4 hours long too, like Lagan, okay? So, but back then, films were very short, sometimes just 1 minute long.